Obama, restoring Glass-Steagall, and unleashing the potential that we have as still a republic that does have a constitution, even though it's violated. Right? Now, where'd it go? Well, you took it.
You're raising
Huh? Oh, there. Okay, yeah. All right, this is the new Silk Road becomes the World Land Bridge, the new EIR report, just hot off the press, right? And in 1987, we published a 250-page book called The Eurasian Land Bridge. The Chinese government officials have told us more recently that all the projects outlined in that report, 80% of them have been built, or are nearing completion. Right? The Chinese used our report from 1997 to build their nation. This begins where the 1987 report left off. And I urge all of you to purchase a copy. This did not come off our copy machine. Here's the 87 report, or 97 report. Right? Yeah, Eurasian Land Bridge. Right? And it's $250. If you want it online, that's $200. Right? But we need the funds in order to continue doing what we're doing.
Especially to get these reports out into policymakers and so forth.
Yeah, I was going to say, where Carol started in terms of discussing the webcast last night, in the fourth section is a picture of when, right after the Civil War, Russia gave Alaska to the United States. And a map was published.
Sold it for $7 million.
$7 million?
Yeah.
Pretty good deal, right?
It was called Seward's Folly.
Right. But would you say, just in terms of your analogy that you made, the new Great March by the bricks, in other words, the land bridge is encircling the ring of iron around the empire to destroy it forever.
Right.
Could you consider that an opening shot, since the idea was what this map shows by Gilpin was the Transcontinental Railroad. He called the map, which is right here, says, it's called this American Economic Just and Correct Map of the World, is what Gilpin called it, the governor of Colorado Territory, a cosmopolitan railway across the Bering Straits. In other words, extending the Transcontinental Railroad. Just what we're saying now was in effect, I think. Does that make sense, Pat? So we're enveloped, this process actually started to a certain extent in the terms of the idea was right at that point.
Actually, it started earlier.
It started with John Quincy Adams.
Before railroads existed.
Right.
That was why Astoria, was created as a port, essentially a port city, at the mouth of the Columbia River. That's why Lewis and Clark went over in 1803 across, across the newly acquired possession called the Louisiana Purchase. Right? So it was always westward, kind of drive, which the British always tried to stop us. So now also, new pamphlet, 28 pages, why the United States must join the BRICS. Right? And so this is a quick summary, essentially, of that 375-page report. Right? It's not the Cliff Notes version. Right? It is a conceptual version. Right? And that is what you need to know. All right? So we have work to do. We need the funds, and you should give them as much as you can. People should take the petitions and get signatures on them saying the United States should join the BRICS. Some of you may remember Dr. Howard Chang of San Diego State University and gave a speech last, September or so in
Pasadena.
2013 in Pasadena at our conference on the great projects, that he foresee, including, he had among them, the Nicaragua Canal, which begins construction on December 22nd.
My birthday. Hey.
Right? And on December 20th, we will have a 8-hour conference in Pasadena starting at 1 o'clock. There are flyers on the back table for that, and you should bring other people to it. All right? Yes, Eric?
Pat, I have a question, and then if there's time, I have a couple of quick comments, but let me just ask my question now.
Make it quick, it's 10 o'clock.
I will, I know. Historically, there was one flank battle that did not work, and that was in 1878 or 79, never remember which year exactly, when the British and the Zulus had a 2-day battle at Rorke's Drift. And of course, there was a movie made of that, and the British won. The Zulus had this like horn of the buffalo strategy that usually worked very well for them, but they lost. Can you give us a couple of instances, a couple of examples where the flank approach worked real well, like the Sherman March did?
Yeah, George Washington
Okay.
at crossing the Delaware Christmas night, and smashing the British. Nobody expected him to do that. It was impossible, So he did the impossible, and he also did it on Christmas night when the British were all drunk.
Okay.
Yeah?
But it's not military though, because once Reagan went with the Strategic Defense Initiative, that blew pretty much everything right out of the water right there, because they had done everything possible to stop it.
And they weren't expecting it, were they?
Well, of course not.
No.
Nobody.
No. Or General MacArthur in World War II, instead of doing what the Army and the Marines said to do, or what the Marines said to do and the Navy said to do, which was, let's battle the Japanese on every island they're occupying, MacArthur said, that's stupid. You just get people killed. Just surround those islands with a few Navy ships and just let them starve. And we'll go to the next one. Right? Nobody expected that. Right? But that's the commander who has the respect for human life, who is willing to take and to sacrifice human life, but will not do it unnecessarily. Okay? Whereas the British, say in World War I at Gallipoli, just have wave after wave of Australians getting thousands and thousands of them killed right into the Turkish machine gun nests.
And if I can, I'll withhold one of my comments for a later time if I can just make one of them. It's about General Lee. It's very interesting if you compare Grant and Lee. Grant, a great general, but a poor president. Lee, a poor general, but a great person. And he did not tolerate amongst his troops or even fellow officers anybody bad rapping any of the leadership in the Union, because he overheard one junior officer say something derogatory about Grant, and he heard it and he said, if I ever hear you again bad rap anybody amongst them, yes, there are enemies, but you respect your enemies, and if I ever hear you do that again, you'll be demoted.
That did not make him a good person. He was a bad person because he betrayed this country.
He did betray.
He's a traitor. He should have been hung. And the only reason he wasn't is because Lincoln understood, Grant understood, that would just, make the rest of the soldiers of the Confederacy fight more. The only way to end the war was let them go free
And some
without
point,
punishment.
not now, but at some point we should discuss the Grant presidency. He wasn't as bad a president as people say. He had really unbelievable.
We learned that in
things
high
he did.
school.
He had a Wall Street
It's
problem.
not true. It's not true.